What's up guys? Today we're back testing Bite Force and we've got 3 dogs in today's episode. We've got 2 male Cane Corsos and a male Bandog. Now the reason I've put the Bandog in this episode is because to me he kind of looks very much like a Corso. He's a big lad, big powerful head, and I feel like he just kind of fits in with this episode. So we've got 3 for the price of 2 today. Also, we've got the dogs up on the table today because last time we had the Corsos down on the floor and people were complaining, oh my God, you need to put them on the table. They're at a disadvantage compared to the Rottweilers. Well, guess what? This time they're on the table. So shut up.
Watch it. Watch it. Yeah.
114.
So today, again, we're down at Vigo Canine in Essex, and these guys kind of specialise in the Mastiff type breeds. They have mainly Bandogs, Cane Corsos, XL Bullies as we saw in one of the previous episodes, and a good mixture of other breeds, so this was a really good day for me. Going back to the Bandogs, I know a lot of you guys have been talking about these dogs need to be bigger, you know, we need the biggest specimens of the breeds. But these Bandogs, you know, they're fit, functional, athletic, and I think that they can do this job a lot better than some of the breeds that are much heavier, much bigger, you know, the hyper type dogs almost, you could call them. Also, it's worth noting, do you think that the more fit and functional dogs that do train in bite work, would they bite harder than the hyper type, overbred, huge dogs that don't train in bite work? Because you've got to think, these fit dogs are biting that sleeve every day, biting the decoy, biting the sleeve, flexing those jaw muscles. I look like Mr. Krabs or that guy off Futurama, what's his name? Clampy off Futurama. But yeah, they're flexing those jaw muscles all the time, you know, like a bodybuilder. The more you work those muscles, the stronger they become. So would that, in theory, even though they're smaller, would that give them a stronger bite than a dog that, say, doesn't train? Who knows? Anyway, first up, we've got Blue, the Cane Corso. So Blue comes in with 162 kilograms or 356 pounds of bite force. That is super, super impressive. And he's only 2 years old. Now, back when they switched him on, that war cry, he was basically screeching at the decoy. You know, that is like Malinois, Dutch herder type energy. It's rare you'll see that from a Corso. So that dog he's probably got some good working line genetics behind him. You know, that is really a lot of drive for the sleeve. He had his arm on the side of the table there, trying to rip out of that back tie and get to the decoy. So for a Corso, that is very impressive, and that is a serious dog. Yeah, so 162 kilograms. He's not hitting that 700 psi. He's only 2 years old, you know. I don't know if the Corsos are the same as Rottweilers. A Rottweiler will fully mature 2.5, 3 years old normally. Corsos, I think they're going to be around the same. If you own a Corso, let me know in the comments. But, you know, I'd say he's got another 6 months to a year. I don't think in that time he's then going to be able to reach 300 kilograms. You know, I think he'd be getting close to that at 2 years old if he was going to reach that mark. But, you know, forget the 700 psi anyway. These dogs, this is only the second male Cane Corso we've had on the channel, and both of them have hit 160 plus. You know, we've had a 162 and a 207 kilograms. So far, they are very consistent and very powerful dogs. You know, taking the PSI nonsense out of the equation, looking at our leaderboard, these dogs are seriously powerful, and we haven't had one yet, you know, that's really fumbled, you know. Also, I don't know if you noticed, at the end there, he almost broke the sleeve, you know, he's shaking it that hard, he switched it off. So there's a little, there's a switch inside the receiver on the arm, and he's been the first dog, he shook the sleeve so hard, he's knocked the switch off, so that's why it stopped at the end. But yeah, so not only does he bite insanely hard, the power in his neck muscles from that shaking motion is quite something, you know. He's actually turned the sleeve off there. I thought he'd broken it for a few seconds. Turn him on. Good boy. What's We need Jake. $156. Keep going. Give me another one. Do another one, Jake. $164. So Bolo comes in with 164 kilograms or 361 pounds. Again, the Cane Corsos, this is the third one we've had on the channel. Super consistent. These dogs are just ridiculously powerful every single time. What's interesting as well, if you saw the first two attempts, this really shows us how the decoy can make such a difference in the bite work. First we had Harry, had 2 attempts. Bolo didn't really seem interested. At the start, he was doing like a low, deep bark, not really as aggressive or drivey as Blue. And then we switched to Jake, and instantly his whole demeanor just changed. You know, he was then 100% grabbed hold of the sleeve like a completely different dog. So that just shows us, you know, the decoy does make a difference, or Bolo just really hates Jake for some reason. It's also nice to see the consistency in the scores between the breeds, you know. So we've got 2 Cane Corsos here, who to me, they look a similar size. One of them apparently is 10 kilograms heavier than the other. I thought they looked pretty similar myself, but it's just nice to see they look a similar size and there's only 2 kilograms between them. You know, that tells me that the sleeve is doing its job, and it's nice to see that consistency. You know, we had it with the Rottweilers. The Rottweilers are very consistent. I think 130 or 120 was the lowest, and then the highest all the way up to 180. Well, Bronson, I think, you know, is just a freak of nature. I don't know how he bit that hard. Pablo as well for his size. But the Rottweilers usually range between the 130 to the 150, 160 mark. So yeah, again, it's just nice to see the consistency that makes sure that the sleeve is nice and accurate.
What's she got? Yep.
So Blackjack comes in with 149 kilograms. Now this is Jake's personal dog. Very high level dog, you know. Jake, who owns Vigo Canine, this is his dog, so it's one of the best dogs there. I really like this dog. If I were to pick a Mastiff type breed for a personal protection or a sport dog, I would want a dog like Blackjack. You know, he looks like he can do anything. He's tall, he's got the size, he's got the big broad head and the powerful bite, but he's in really good shape as well. You know, he could run for miles. Just looking at him, you can see that that dog has a lot of stamina. Again, what was interesting is when I took the sleeve, Blackjack got a higher score. You know, he was started off with Harry, probably his regular decoy, who he knows and probably has a bit of a relationship with. And then when I took the sleeve, he doesn't know me, he doesn't have a relationship with me, and that is when I would say he delivered a proper bite. You know, 149 kilograms of force on a complete stranger. And this tells us a lot about Blackjack as a dog. It shows his confidence. You know, some dogs with a completely new decoy or a person they don't know, they might be thinking, oh, am I supposed to bite this guy? You know, should I bite him as hard as I can, or should I go easy on him? But no, Blackjack, it just shows his confidence. He's like, who is this guy? I don't know this guy. I'm going to make sure, you know, he doesn't mess with me. So he gave that his full force on that bite. So I've been really impressed with all three dogs in today's episode. You know, we've had some really solid scores. It's nice to see how consistent the Cane Corsos are, even though they're not hitting that 700 or 700 PSI or the 300, 350 kilogram mark. To me, that's not really relevant, you know. All I can see in these dogs is they are consistently powerhouses, you know. They're consistently hitting those big numbers. Let me know down in the comments, out of the three dogs we've tested today, which dog would you choose for your own personal protection dog? Personally, I'd choose Blackjack, just because I think he's cool, you know. I like the look of him. I like a tall dog that has a bit of stature, but I also like the fit and functional dogs. You know, some of the dogs I see online, they might be really big and powerful looking, but I feel like I could outrun them, you know. What's so good about having such a powerful dog if I can run away from it or hop a fence and it can't even follow me? But yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Don't forget to subscribe, drop a like, and drop a comment. I'll see you on the next one.